please pronounce your name correctly for me?
My name is LaiSun Keane.
Now, from what research I've seen, you come from Australia. Is that correct?
That's right. I lived in Australia for 15 years. I was born in Malaysia, a country near Singapore in Southeast Asia. A lot of Americans know Southeast Asia for Thailand and Vietnam. I was born in Malaysia. My grandfather was a refugee from China during World War II. He fled in a boat with his wife and 2 children to Malaysia. At that time, I think any country would take them. They will have, happily go. And so they settled in Malaysia, had my father, and then my father had me. Malaysia is a former colony of the British. So that's why I speak English, because the English is a language that is still being taught in Malaysia. That's one of the main languages. Then I moved to Australia, married an Australian man, and then I had 2 children there. Backtrack, sorry. When I was in Malaysia, I was working in the tech business, in the tech industry. So in the early 90s, there was the tech boom. People who are Gen X, like me, would remember those times in the late 80s. Apple, Microsoft, Bill Gates. He was like, the hero. People adore him for what he has done for computers.
Oh, I was in San Francisco in the late 90s. I'm fully aware of the tech boom.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So yeah, in Asia too, the whole region was experiencing that, the rise of tech, because a lot of the American companies were setting up factories there. My childhood, I grew up not rich. So because we were a refugee family, we weren't rich, and also Malaysia was a country that did not favor the Chinese people.
You don't say.
We don't have the same rights as the Malay, the natives, and also as a woman, in a Muslim country. Can you imagine?
Well, I personally cannot, but I did live in a Muslim country for 6 years. So yes, I'm aware.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so while in the tech business, I actually worked for several multinational companies like Unisys, which they don't exist anymore. And then Novell, which is a software company. I think they don't exist anymore. Novell may be a consulting company now. They have pivoted to a different. Novell is a software company that did networking.
I do know. I know both of those companies, but I'm something tells me Novell still exists. But yeah, I believe they've sort of changed their platforms.
Totally different business. They're from Utah. The founders were Mormons and stuff. When I was in the tech business, I met my husband, who was Australian, and then we got married, and I moved to Australia, to Sydney, Australia.
Beautiful city.
Yeah. We decided that, we will just have children early so that we could have a more relaxed life later on, So straight away, had children. Spent 10 years, almost 10 years as a housewife. And then when the kids were like around 10 or 8, I thought, hey, I have to do something with myself. What I always wanted to do is get into the arts. So I enrolled in an art school. At that time, the college is called College of Fine Arts, which is part of UNSW, University of New South Wales. So now they changed the name. It's called UNSW School of Art and Design, because they have kind of like focus a lot on teaching digital art, more technical stuff. But they still have a really beautiful art department faculty, which I love because I enjoyed my 3 years there very, very much. As a mature student, as a woman who was older than everybody, all my classmates were like in the 18 or 19 years old, but I was already in my 30s at that time. But I enjoyed my experience. My degree was in art theory, art history. So the path to a career path for that degree would be, as a gallerist or something, run a gallery, be an art admin, or, join a museum. But of course, you have to get a PhD before you get hired by a museum. So I just, once I graduated, I worked for free.
As we all do. Yeah.
Yes, you have to, you have to pay your dues. In the arts, it's very interesting, very strange to me that in the arts you have to be kind of from money. Because when you graduate with this degree,
it does help for sure.
the job prospect is very little, and the pay is so low. If you don't have any backing, financial backing, it's very, very hard.
It's very true. I mean, I keep looking around and like as I do research about like different artists and different gallerists and these kinds of people, I'm suddenly like, oh wait, oh their parents were so and
That's right.
so, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that explains how they were able to afford to do this lifestyle and have the connections and get these exhibitions or fund their gallery or whatever. And
Yeah.
in some
Yeah.
ways, it's very sad because it's sort of the rich propagating the rich kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. And then further down the road, you
Not
will.
that
Sorry.
owning an art gallery or being an artist ever like has the guarantee of becoming rich.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. You are crazy to even want to be an artist or an art gallerist. Actually, we are a group of people who are kind of little eccentric, and we're different. Down the road too, once you get into the art field more deeply, you will also know that it's who you know, not what you know, as well. There's a lot of connection. Let's say yeah, you're laughing.
I'm laughing because like you're just jumping into all the serious topics. Like, yes, that is right. It really like I wish somebody had told me when I was young that it was more about who you know than your skills or your merit or your knowledge. Because like
Yeah.
when I went to school, I was there to learn. I was there to get the degree. I was there for like those kinds of purposes. But in reality, the benefit of going to any particular school seems to be the connections you make to the teachers or to
Yes.
the guest lecturers or to your
Yeah.
peers or to all these kinds of
Yeah.
people. And I totally ignored all that stuff because I believed that the art world was about merit and concept and technique and all these kinds of things that is totally wrong now that I have 25 years in the arts industry. I'm just like, fuck, I wish somebody had told me that when I was a kid.
That's right. That's right. So yeah. Well, you made it this far. So yeah, congratulations.
Well, but yeah, I mean, I'm in academia. I mean, I'm a professor, and like even as a professor, it's still connections because the way
Mm.
you'll hear about a job, the opportunity that comes up, or get through a committee to hire you is because you know somebody on the committee and they like
Mm.
you, and that's how you get hired. So like, it's not even just like the arts world proper, but even like the tertiary things like arts academia that are still who you know and who you're friends with more so than necessarily the quality of your work.
That's true. That's so true. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately.
So sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. So after I graduated, I experienced a lot of pushbacks, a lot of discrimination when I sent my resume out for internship. Let's say my name is LaiSun. It's in Australia, I think, predominantly white society. The name LaiSun, it's first they couldn't pronounce it, and they have like that I'm one of 50 candidates, and they would go for Sally and Mary, or why would they go for LaiSun, whom they may think couldn't speak English, so or have an accent they couldn't adjust to.
It's funny yet true, but
It's sad
sadly,
but true. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I know, but
yeah,
I also feel like
yeah.
sort of it's one of those things. Like sometimes I feel like me, I feel like I missed my boat. Like my boat was pre Me Too movement and all these and like Black Lives Matters and all the other
Yeah.
sort of things.
Mm.
Because like now I am a white man,
Man. Mm.
American, cis, heterosexual
That's
white
right. You
man.
are all the what they don't want.
That's right. I am completely undesirable at this point,
I'm
whereas
so
you
sorry.
are completely desirable at this point.
Hey, there you go. The pendulum swung. Doing,
It
yeah.
does. And it's perfectly legitimate. It's the way the world works, but it's just very funny. Like when both of us were coming out, like I should have been on the top of my game then, and I'm doing much better now. But like you had the problems early on, whereas right
Mm.
now you potentially should be doing pretty well.
I think I am doing quite well. Yes, thank you. Yes, one of the reasons, of course, yes, it is the minority factor, but at the same time, I think I try to produce narrative based quality because I want to tell the story I want to tell, and not just to pander.
I didn't say that, just to be clear.
Yeah, yeah. No, you didn't. But you're right to observe that. Yes, it is right. If you're a minority, this is your moment.
More so than any time in the past. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. But there is also what kind of minority as well. So Asians have different challenges. Asians are always accused of being white passing. Have you heard of that? White passing, white adjacent, because we are model minorities. We go to Harvard, we are hardworking. We don't get in trouble.
I love how you said Harvard.
I live here. I've lived here for a while. So, yeah. So, yeah, from Australia to here.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, what brought you from Australia to the Boston area?
Yes, this is because of my husband. So while I was trying to make a mark in Australia, in Sydney, in which I was failing miserably, no major galleries would hire me, not even an internship. And so I did volunteer for a National Art School in their galleries for 2 years. It's a free position. Then I got a job in a gallery that sells Aboriginal art. They were owned by Iranians, so they were immigrants themselves, so just minorities helping each other, I guess. I don't know.
That's a fascinating combination. An Iranian couple, I assume, Iranian couple.
No, they're a family Iranians who immigrated to Australia, and then they started an Australian a souvenir shop selling boomerangs and stuff. But then they expanded to selling Aboriginal paintings from the Central Desert.
As one does, sure.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So evolution of I guess of Australian art, particularly. Yeah. So I worked there for 2 years. Also lowly paid, not basic income. But I really wanted to learn. It wasn't the money that was my motivation. It was me wanting to build my resume, just wanting to learn what it is to become a gallerist or the art business and selling art, dealing with artists and also the art world. Then my husband started a company and he got funded. And then we moved to Boston. So I had no choice but to come here. It was for the best, I think. America has actually given me more opportunities than Australia. So again, when I came here, I wasn't allowed to work. I didn't have a work permit at that time, the first 2 years. So again, just volunteer. I volunteered for so many film festivals. The Asian American Film Festival, the Independent Film Festival, the Boston Jewish Film Festival, you name it, I was there, ushering people into the theaters. I volunteered for Concord Art Association, which is a town next to where I lived in Lexington. I volunteered there, and then from the volunteer job, I met a gallerist in Concord. She offered me a volunteer position, just to, come in twice a week, come and do some data entry, clean the gallery, stuff like that. I did all that.
Sorry, all of that just sounds so stereotyped racist. Like, let's bring the Asian woman in to do data entry. It just seems so wrong. Go on.
Yeah. And cleaning.
I know.
Vacuuming, cleaning, and also turn up for the reception to help serve drinks. I did that.
I almost feel like I should apologize on behalf of America.
Oh no, you don't have to. No.
It's just horrible.
I know, sounds horrible, but I'm proud of it. I'm proud of everything I did. It wasn't beneath me,
Hey, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Well, I think, the people who did it, who hired me, they should be reflecting on that and think about what they have done. But someone has got to do that job and someone has to gain the experience. And I wanted the experience. So then when I got my work permit, the gallerist employed me. So I became a full-time employee. And then about 3 years working for her, she was not doing very well. And she's in her 70s. So an older woman who's already had the gallery for 30 years. So I offered to buy the gallery from her. And she didn't want to sell me the whole gallery. She said, let's become 50-50. And that's what happened. She and I were partners in the gallery for 2 years before I then left the partnership and started my own in 2020, April 2020, during the start of the pandemic.
Yeah, I saw there was a news article about you, like basically saying like, okay, worst time probably in modern history to start an art gallery. And so that's when you chose to start an art gallery.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think that's my personality, I guess. Yeah. So nothing is too hard. Nothing is too dirty. to like get my hands in. I'm not afraid of hard work. When I see obstacle, I try to just break it down. I go for it. I think that's the story of my life as a product of refugee, a diaspora Chinese.
I didn't even know what diaspora meant until like a year ago. Somebody explained it to me. I got it now, though.
Oh, good.
So, okay. But so really the question, though, is why, of all the times in your potential career, would you choose to do this? Like, because you're talking about, well, you said April. Like, so like the pandemic had
2020.
already, yeah, the pandemic was already going. And so you're like,
Yes.
opening a
It was a
store.
lockdown. Yeah.
Great. I mean, I'm sure rents were great. I'm sure you could get a good deal on rent at that time. But like,
yes, yes, you're right. In April 2020, it was still a lockdown, right? In America, anyway, there was a lockdown, and nobody can visit a physical space. At that time, I was interested in how galleries business is changing. Anyway, there were already things like online viewing room. There were already virtual exhibitions. Matterport, the company has already existed.
I do not know Matterport.
Yeah, so they provide you with like a 3D rendering of like a virtual space where you can provide the viewer like a virtual diorama or something.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you're not there, you can actually kind of like watch it on the computer. So all those technologies already existed. Already, galleries already applying or using those strategies or techniques to get buyers, right? To look at their works. Isn't COVID lockdown the most perfect time to kind of use those technologies that's already existed, that's already on offer?
Well, if they work, and I'm still questionable and slightly dubious on whether or not that entire sort of like online looking at art versus seeing it in real life really works.
Yes, you got a good point. Yes, I will answer that for you.
It's a tough question because
Yeah.
certain mediums, let's say, certain styles, like they render beautifully on a computer screen and can do really very well. But certain ones just can't. Like I could imagine
I
lots
agree.
of materials that like you just can't understand its scale or its material qualities virtually in the same way that you would in reality.
When I started my gallery, my online gallery, because when I started the gallery, it was just online. I did think about, hey, would people buy work, online? Would they pay $10,000 for a painting without, like actually seeing it in person? Well, of course, those are all learning curve for me, right? I was learning it as well. I always go into things with optimism. I always say, yes, there will be an audience for what I sell. I have to. Otherwise, I won't be an art gallerist. I won't have a gallery. If I am always say, oh no one's going to look at my stuff. I always have to come in telling you, this is the best thing ever. And I have to stand, I have to be like that, Anyway, back to this online buying. Yes, it's true. I did learn, this past, 2 years now, there are certain artworks that don't look very good online, especially sculptures, ceramic work, 3D works. It's very hard to really convince somebody to part $5,000 for a nice sculptural work, a ceramic work.
Well, that's the thing. Is like I've been looking into 3-dimensional, like doing videos, like where they spin it around and take like multiple, or just a video of it sort of moving around in a circle, so you get a sense of it. I mean, most fashion houses and like shoe companies and like all these different places, they're all using that technology now. And it's like, why hasn't the art world sort of picked up on basically doing like a 360-degree presentation of a piece of art? I mean, obviously, okay, a painting, I don't need to see the back of it, but like works that like look different in different lighting situations, so you could see the reflective qualities or the matte surfaces kind of things, like by like looking at it that way. Like, I mean, that's an amazing technology to be able to enhance sort of the ability to sell online, that I think will make it easier to sell online versus the issues of like what you can't see if you're not there in reality kind of stuff.
There are artists who actually use Lazy Susan.
Susan, yeah.
Lazy, and you put your sculpture on it, and then you film it, or then you can do it in slow motion and stuff like that. Yes, they have. We have artists who actually have presented it that way, but still not convincing. I think still not.
Interesting. Okay, so three-dimensional work doesn't sell as well online.
Yeah, but paintings as well. If it is above certain price point, it's harder for.
What price point?
I would say anything above 30,000, it would be harder for someone to say, oh, I'll buy it without looking at it. But I have sold a lot of work, less than that, without the collectors seeing it in person.
I would have assumed that price point was lower. So 30,000 is a pretty high price point. I'm quite surprised.
Yeah.
So that's a pleasant thing. Like, I'm pleasantly surprised that it's 30,000.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, maybe less. 30. I don't.
Even 20,000 is still surprising to me. So yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
I would have imagined that the price point would have been about 10,000 would have been the cutoff, where people would have been sort of dubious to buy online only.
10 or less is easy. 10 or less is easy.
We'll put it as a tiered thing then. 10 or less, 10,000 or less, easy. 10,000 to 30,000,
it's possible.
Able to be done. Yeah, possible.
Able to be done. Yeah.
But not easy.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Yeah, you can sell a painting, with it. But I'm not Gagosian or Pace Gallery, so I don't know whether they have been able to sell a painting for 100,000 without the collector seeing it. I don't know.
Of course they have. They could sell a painting without even showing somebody the painting.
Yeah, but I think I've read on Artsy or ArtNet's report about that. Yeah, they did say anything that's less than 10 is very easy to sell online. They have a report out there.
Maybe that's where I got that statistic.
Yeah, maybe you have as well. Yes, yeah.
All right, so you have an online gallery, and do you have a brick and mortar place?
So in the U.S., in Massachusetts anyway, when we start to open up again, I think it was around July, I got a pop-up space in Wellesley. It's a affluent town. Wellesley College is there, affluent. So I took a pop-up space there for 2 months. Very interestingly, I didn't sell anything there. Everything I sold that were all online still. But I had a space just to, try it out, just to see how it is physically, whether it worked. But probably it's a town as well that didn't work for me.
Well, it still was a pandemic too.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we had restriction. We couldn't have more than 6 people in the gallery at one time or something. Yeah.
I have not gone to as many openings and events and art exhibitions by far as I used to. So it doesn't surprise me that not a lot of people have attended even.
Yeah, that's what's still in 2020. Then, of course, you did mention about how the rent in April when I started my gallery, I already been planning, okay, when this COVID is over, I'm going to have a physical space. I've already knew that I wanted to be in South End. So in this place called the Sower Art District. So it's an art district with a lot of galleries. It's kind of an art area, art district. So people will come to look at art. People frequent all the art galleries. So it just makes sense in business-wise to be located in a city and in an area where people would go for art. If it is not for COVID, I wouldn't have gotten a space because there was a waiting list to get in, to rent before COVID. So because of COVID, a lot of galleries left. They shut down or left.
And I'm sure there still will be more leaving as well, too. Yeah.
Yeah. Just changing over. Some people go there, move in, and for 6 months, and then they move again. Because they found that there's no foot traffic. So yeah, it was because of COVID that I was able to secure a physical space. And I signed a long-term lease. To be there. I've been there since September 2020. So a year and a half now, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and so how is that now sort of balancing itself out? So what, if you don't mind, what's your percentage of online sales versus physical sales?
Still a lot online.
A lot being 90%?
No, 80-20, I think. Yeah, I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Still a lot. Yeah.
I think that's utterly fascinating. So the amount of online sales, I've been buying work online, so I'm not immune to it. And, I'm participating in it as much as anybody else, but it becomes how do you then get people interested in an online thing, because I mean the online market, you know, between social media and just the existence of websites, like it's inundated. There are new galleries everywhere, there are new opportunities everywhere. People can contact artists directly through Instagram, like, so like how do you like manage to like sort of cut through all of that to get to people that actually finding you and buying from you?
Yeah, so I also have other things that I do to collect a list. For example, going to art fairs.
I am fascinated with art fairs. I've only participated in one, and we broke even. So that's it. Like we didn't make any money, but we didn't lose any money. So we considered that a win.
My physical space is for me to display the exhibition, right? So I would say the function of the physical space is that. So it's like a place where you can display art physically in real life, IRL, you know. But my online or my platforms, I am on Artsy, I'm on my website, I'm on social media. I also, you do things like, for example, you pay for Google ads, or you pay for, stuff like that. You need to get eyeballs, to get yourself out there so that people see you. Yeah, and then we build contents. For example, every exhibition I have, I always have an artist talk where I stream live on Instagram and Facebook. So all those are tools that I use to promote my work, my exhibitions, my artists, and the work that I sell. So yeah, it's interesting how, yeah, I'm not a big business, so I what I make is comfortable for to pay rent, to pay my staff, to pay the artists. Yeah, I'm not running it like as if I'm going to be a millionaire. No, I'm running it just so that I could cover costs, so that I could keep doing what I do that I love. Yeah, my gallery is showing work that are not decorative.
And that's great. I'm tired of decorative work. I mean, I respect people who make decorative works because I decorate my home, but I'm a little tired of like the decorative galleries.
Yeah, so my collectors are not collectors who come and buy a work to match their couch.
That's what Bed Bath and Beyond and IKEA are for.
That's right. Yeah. So my passion also is to promote emerging artists who are, like let's say they're freshly graduated from college or something, and they need a platform, a place to show. There are a lot of gatekeepings in this field. So what I want to do as a gallerist is to give these artists a chance.
Well, see, as a person who is later in his career, I'd say I'm mid-career at this point, probably, but like those opportunities weren't there when I was young. I feel like I hear a lot more about galleries these days choosing to, engage with young and emerging artists more so than I remember 30 years ago when I first got out of school. And so like I
Mm,
find that very fascinating, that
yeah.
because there's a certain thing that I see as like, well, there's the potential problem with that is like a lot of artists who are, let's say, picked up by a gallery that just works with emerging artists, when they get bigger, there's that fear that they're going to skip and go to a bigger gallery. And so then you've invested all that time, energy, and money in their career, and then they just leave, and then you end up earning nothing off of them once they're making real money from somebody else.
Mm.
That's sad. Like the fact that that even happens.
That is true, though. I mean, if it's a small gallery, you can't really manage somebody's career who's like, let's say, Jonas Woods or something, or somebody who moved from like small gallery to a big gallery. Let's say, what's her name, Jenny Saville, who went to Gagosian from a smaller gallery, or like Simone Lee, who was with David Kodansky and then went to Hauser and Wirth. So even in galleries, there are hierarchies, right? There are the small galleries like me, and then there are the mid-size and blah, 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 and then they have the blue chip, right? So all these galleries have their function. I wouldn't be able to manage a career of Simone Lee or Jenny Saville. It's true, because handling somebody's portfolio that's worth millions of dollars is actually a different ball game.
It is, but like, I mean, it's sort of sad because it almost like puts these like galleries into like different class systems. Like, so like they're small galleries, and small galleries aren't allowed to grow and get bigger because they're not allowed to keep these better, more expensive artists, but they
Mm.
go on to bigger galleries. Small galleries can't get bigger, but yet most small galleries want to get bigger, But like sort of the way the system is created, there is again sort of that like small gallery, mid-sized gallery, blue chip gallery sort of hierarchy that like artists would sort of climb that ladder, hopefully in their careers. But the galleries can't climb that ladder.
Yeah, but I think, depending on the galleries, yeah, some galleries can evolve, yeah, to become a bigger gallery. I would say, who are these, or let's just take example of some New York women art gallerists, like let's say Marion Boski or, Marion, what's her name?
I was thinking
Mary,
Mary Boone,
yeah, Mary Boone. This is the one who
but I
went
think
to
Mary
jail.
Boone started off as a pretty high gallery.
Yeah. Arnie Glimcher started as a, oh, hang on, was he rich before he started? The Pace Gallery founder.
I do
um,
not know for sure, but I would take a wager you're probably right.
yeah, yeah. So, of course, I want to grow. I do. I want to grow, and I want to grow with my artists. Yes. It's very hard though. There's a lot of obstacles to get there. But I would love to. My gallery's young. It's only been established, less than 2 years.
Right. So like so what are you doing online? So you've got live videos that you're doing with discussions and all this kind of stuff. Like what other sort of techniques have you been finding? Because like I'm fascinated by it. Like I'm fascinated with the whole NFT stuff. Like I mean all these kinds of little different various forms of like digital art commerce kind of like thing.
A lot of times when you have built a list, you have to nurture them. You have to take care of that list as well. So a lot of the sales are repeat sales, right? Besides all the content I produce, all the Instagram posts, a really good artsy presence. I do use Artsy because I believe Artsy is one of the ones that is effective compared to First Dibs, or I don't know who they are. Are they the others? Yeah.
I was going to ask how effective is Artsy because from an artist's perspective, it's not super user friendly and effective for us. But it seems like the gallery seems to use it well.
Yeah, it is useful because it's an e-commerce. And Artsy also produces content, like they write articles and stuff. They promote your artists. Like they will send out newsletters saying top 10 artists that you should watch, and all those, those are all like, they're helpful if one of your artists get mentioned.
I know. I get them all the time.
They do send a lot of emails out on there. Yeah. Yeah.
Too many, in my personal opinion, but yes.
And like on Artsy platform, they will give you the report on what is your most popular work. And those are all data, right? You can just then use those data to then do more with it, right? Then you can adjust your marketing strategy based on it. Like, oh, this painting or this painter is more popular than others, then do more with that or something. Artsy has been a really good platform for me. I'm staying on it. I find it very useful. I've sold work on it too, so it's good for me. Yeah.
So you're going back to your tech background and using all of the like data driven information to be able to sort of like reallocate resources and time and energy towards different things based on like basically the data based feedback that you're receiving from these different things.
Yeah, data science. That's the future. We are living in it right now. Look at Facebook. They're taking all your data. That's how they curate all the information for you.
Everybody's taking all of our data. I mean, Google's got data.
That's
Like
right.
even the games we play on our phone is taking data from us. Like, I mean, all these big I'm not going to get into my whole like conspiracy theory about all the corporations taking all of our. I mean, I at one point I was really afraid when Apple came out with that thumbprint thing on the phone. I was like,
Yes.
they now have my thumbprint. I mean, for fuck's sake, they could like frame me for murder by putting my thumbprint some murder scene. I mean, like,
Oh,
I went down a horrible
vivid,
rabbit hole on that.
vivid imagination.
I do. Yeah, yeah. No. But
Well, this is the world we live in. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I'm not an expert in how we navigate that. But of course, we are living in a data science world where it's data driven. You want to think that you are an individual, you have freedom. Do we? You know, we, Everything we see now is all kind of pushed to us. Everything is pushed to you. Sponsored this, sponsored that. You see that. If do you not want to then engage with social media at all? Is it possible?
If I had a choice, I kind of wish to go back to the days pre-social media. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's part of our lives. Yeah, yeah.
I know, but I mean, like back then, it was pushed into our brains through advertising on television. So, like, I mean, one way or another, corporations are going to get to us. So, they're just coming up with more cunning ways to get it into our brains. So,
More and more. Yeah, 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 yeah. And the new generation, what Gen Z or anybody who's born in the 90s or the 2000s, actually, isn't it 2000? Yeah, they are so used to it. In fact, it's their life. They don't even think about it.
I know. I even saw things statistically saying that they're having less sex as well. I was just like, oh, that's such a sad life.
But they have sex in different ways, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they get stimulated in other ways. I'm not criticizing it, but it's just it's a fascinating sort of generational changes.
Yeah, I think it's also the fear, isn't it, of STs and stuff like that. We've been trying to tell them as well, isn't it?
It is possible we put some fear into them about it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder what's the reason for that. Is it? Are you sure it's not COVID?
No, this was pre-COVID that I remember reading the statistics.
Okay.
So
Okay.
But yeah, COVID, that affected everybody's sex life also. But that's a whole different podcast. But
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's true though. Right now, social media, like for example, TikTok, people are more interested in watching TikTok than I guess talking to their partners.
Yes, it's like you've been in my house with my wife. Yes.
Oh no.
No, she does YouTube. She doesn't do TikTok, but same difference.
Oh, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube has the same. Yeah, has a lot of content. So, yeah, you get addicted to it. Yeah.
Luckily, that is one addiction I have not gotten. I've had many addictions in my life. Like I used to be a drug addict. I smoked. I did caffeine.
Oh.
I still smoke. But I smoked other things, and so I've had lots of addictions. But luckily, YouTube or TikTok is not one of my current addictions. Maybe in time, but
yeah.
But getting back to sort of the website and the stuff, is one thing that I noticed about your website, and maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't see prices of artwork on the websites.
There are prices.
Okay, there are prices.
There are. So yeah, it's in purchases, the tab above the website. My website has tabs. That's actually a purchase, and then you can just go into.
Oh yes, indeed you do. Yeah, I mean, because it's a long-standing sort of battle of do you put prices, do you not put prices, why either way. I like the idea of prices personally because there are lots of artists out there that I would be willing to save up to buy something, kind of thing, if I knew what the price was.
I believe in transparency. Yeah. So my website has works that are priced, and also you can buy them. And Artsy too, right? So Artsy as well. All the works that I have on Artsy, they have prices, and you can even buy them.
But Artsy does allow you to put a contact the buyer or contact the gallery.
No, I don't do that. No. I choose the buy now or make an offer button.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is to a certain extent, the choice to not put prices online, I feel is just a continuation of the not giving out prices on a sheet or not putting the prices on the wall at a physical gallery, which I often found to just be horribly pretentious and just snobby. It was just I mean, I literally one time I went to a gallery and I found this piece that I absolutely loved, and I could afford it at the time. I had a good job at that time, and I said, "How much is this?" The lady looked at me with this attitude of "If you have to ask, you probably can't afford it." And I was just like,
"Oh,
I walked in here with cash in my pocket, ready to buy this piece, but fuck you, I'm not going to buy it from you because that was just bitchy."
Yeah, that's another aspect of galleries, the traditional galleries that I also am trying to move away from, not putting prices and treating everybody like scum. When they walk in, that's not what I want my gallery to be. Yeah, so I believe in transparency very much. I have also a lot of collectors who tell me that they like to see prices on my website, and I do. You can buy the work and all that. I don't have everything on my website because the e-commerce platform. I wanted to kind of edit it to offer only the latest exhibitions. The past exhibitions, you can find it, but you have to dig deep into the website, or you can just, contact us, or go to Artsy. Artsy, everything's there. So yeah, you're right about that. The gallery system used to be this, where they make it so austere and so scary and so church-like that you know you walk.
It's so funny you say that, because my father's a priest, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry to offend
It does not
religious
offend me. It's fine.
side of your family. Yeah, okay. Because I publish all my prices, I have no way to discriminate anybody, right? Doesn't matter what you wear, or you wear Gucci, shoes in, or you're wearing torn sandals into my gallery, you will still be given the same price, right? Because it's published.
Yeah, I used to work at a store in San Francisco back in late 90s, early 2000s. And when I first worked there, it was a reasonably high-end fashion store. And the people that worked there said, "Oh, be sure to always look at the women's shoes and handbags before you give them the, whatever amount of service their shoes and handbags deserve." And I turned to them and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so I made it sort of my life's mission to help everybody that walked in flip-flops and the roughest the outfits and all this. And I ended up being the top salesperson in the corporation, because I treated everybody equally. I didn't give anybody better service or anything like that based on whatever they were wearing. And it did me well, and it was a very good business model. And the fact that kind of a business model of be sure to look at a woman's shoes and handbags is just so bad, because
Isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of millionaires in my lifetime, and most millionaires wear just jeans and a t-shirt and probably shoes with holes in them because they're so cheap. That's how they became millionaires, because they're so thrifty. And so they don't like to show off their wealth. That's the thing, is if somebody is showing off their wealth, then they're sort of nouveau riche. They're not actually wealthy. So they're just peacocking a little bit.
That's right. Yes. If you're rich, you don't have to say it. Who famously said, if you have power, but you don't have to say it. So the real power means you don't have to say you have power. So it's the same. Yeah, it applies to that as well. In terms of wealth and how. Yeah. It's interesting. So gallery business. Yeah, that's it. That's where I am at this point, and all I stand for: transparency, and championing emerging artists, and of course, minorities. People who are like me. That's what I also want to emphasize. I want to work with people who are like me, female and minorities. I do work with men too, and white cis men. For example, the exhibition I have right now is a 2-person exhibition. Brian Book is very much a heterosexual white man who is
I'm not sure he's
49
okay
years
with
old.
being outed like that, but that's fine.
Yeah. So I like to champion artists and art that are kind of not so seen, or they're overlooked. Brian's story is interesting because he did get a painting degree from Bennington College in Vermont, but he didn't pursue that career. He went to become a tattoo artist. He had a really good, successful tattoo business for that long, but then now in his late 40s, he wants to revisit his painting, calling. And he's only just done what he's doing now for a year and a half. And I'm already giving him a show. So I recognize talent. And I also know that he's a really nice guy, a really good guy. I enjoy his company. And when I Zoom with him, the first time I met him on Zoom, we had a really interesting conversation. And he didn't get put off by my personality, and so we started working together. So
why would people be put off by your personality?
I'm I can sometimes be a little honest, and with my critiques. So some artists get very hurt and they don't speak to me anymore.
Oh yeah, artists are we are the most sensitive little flowers. We cannot take criticism very well.
Are you like that, Matthew?
I can be, depending on the tone in which somebody takes against my work. If it's a balanced, objective critique, then I will absolutely listen to it. But if it's like a personal attack, like the last time I had a critique, the person sort of started in with me, basically starting with, I don't like male white artists and your work, blah,
Oh,
blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay, wow, this was never going to work from like the first sentence.
oh, that's hurt. That's crazy. That's not nice. That person attacked you, not your work.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and there's a huge difference between like a criticism of my work versus a criticism of me as a person. And like, I am perfectly fine with people giving critical feedback about my work. But if they somehow transcend that into sort of questioning me personally, then that's where I'm like, okay, that has nothing to do with it. Like, you shouldn't be talking about that. And, but
Yeah.
but if somebody wants to work with somebody, going back to our previous conversation about relationships, it is about whether or not you like and enjoy working with the person also. So like there is that balancing act of like, while you have to make great work that somehow engages people, interests people, whatever word you want to put to it, you also, like, if you want to be in this arts industry, you also have to be basically, I'm not going to say you have to be like great or pandering or any of that kind of stuff, but you have to at least not be an asshole.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's true. I mean, there are a lot of artists who are very talented, but then they're assholes, so it's very hard to work with them. It makes it harder. Yeah, it's true. I want to work with people I enjoy working with as well. Sometimes, you learn by working with them, and then you realize then they're really, and then you don't work with them anymore. That becomes like just a one-off relationship, which is not ideal because you want to help build the career and you want to have a long-term relationship with an artist. But if they behave in a way that is undesirable, what do you do? Yeah, the social skill sometimes is a little lacking.
Yeah, to be honest, artists are not known publicly for their social graces.
Yeah.
We are generally seen as like recluses, hermits, or addicts of some sort. So we often are drunks or drug addicts. So like they're
Yeah, yeah.
or have psychiatric problems or any other kind. Like some of us are on the spectrum. You know, what I mean, like there's all kinds of things that are sort of oftentimes very inherent in being in the creative industries.
Right, it's a different side of your brain, right, that you're using, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to be clear, I don't mean any of those things as negative attributes. However, the rest of
No, not at all.
society sees those as negative attributes.
Yeah.
But like in the creative fields, like we're like, oh, you're schizophrenic? Cool. Let's have a good conversation. Like that's fun. But like
Yeah.
outside of the art world, they would be like, oh, you're schizophrenic? No, we're not going to hire you for this job. Like so.
I know. I know. It should be a strength, isn't it? Like, like ADD, it should be a strength.
In the arts, it absolutely could be your like superpower to be ADD. Like that's great. But
Yeah,
in other fields, it's a detriment. So yeah,
that's right. Well, that's why we're in the art world. Yes. That's
indeed.
why we're here.
Well, but going back to that, okay, so like when you opened your gallery only 2 years ago, how did you choose which artists to work with? Because like quite honestly, in this day and age, you could be working with artists anywhere in the world because they can just ship it to you, they can just send you images, and you can just literally work with anybody in the world. So what were some of the characteristics that like says to you like this is somebody I want to work with, I guess, from like different levels, like so from the artistic side as far as what they produce, but then maybe is there some element of like their CV that impressed you, and then of course the aspect of their personality? What's the combination and the factors of like work versus like background versus personality that sort of said, yes, that's somebody I want to work with?
Well, I think first of all, the work has to pass the mark, like
But what's that mark?
well, it's arbitrary, so it's subjective. Art is subjective. What I like may not be what you like, right? So it has to be my judgment. Unfortunately, because it's my gallery. Yes, it has to be something I like, something that I think it's good. Again, the word good is up to debate. It's subjective. And then second, of course, the CV. I always give chance to more artists who are just starting, who are emerging. And then the third thing is if I get along with them. if I tick all three boxes, yes, that's it. Now location is more complicated than that. Boston audience or collectors love to support their own market.
It's the same here in Prague. Like they love Czech artists and they don't love outsiders.
Yeah, they don't like it if you like show someone outside of Boston. They kind of, they feel a little suspicious of you. They feel betrayed or something. Like, look at Tom Brady. He just left and he wrote a long goodbye letter without mentioning the Patriots, and they were so hurt. All the publication, like kind of now are saying, Tom Brady, you traitor. And, how dare you? You spent 20 years in Boston and you never thanked us. Blah blah blah. I try to incorporate in my program, right? I show maybe 9 to 10 shows a year. I try to include a local artist in my program. But I'm interested in other artists as well, from New York, from anywhere in this country. Okay, I have yet to show an overseas artist except from Japan. I did have a 4-person show end of 2020. They're all Japanese women. So I did that. But I learned a lot from that because the shipping cost me a lot of money.
And customs. Holy shit. I hate customs so much.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. The logistic, getting the work here, and then to ship the work back.
Well, customs does not have any sort of part of their forms that says this is going for exhibition and will be returned. Like, because everything they think goes through customs, they believe has been sold and there's a price point on it. And so theoretically, you would end up paying customs to go into the United States. Then you would have to pay customs again going out of the United States. And it's just like, come on. They really need a new, like, another checkbox on their little check sheet that says for exhibition purpose only kind of thing. Like, God.
Yeah, they should have a separate form for us, people who are in the artistic industry. Yeah, it's not easy shipping, and since COVID actually has gone up a lot. The shipping cost, FedEx,
and the shipping time as well. Everything's a lot slower.
That's true. Yeah, everything's slower. Yeah, everything takes requires more money. Yeah, I do get approached by some European artists who want to show in this country because they want to show in the US. It's a very attractive prospect.
I was recently talking to somebody here in Europe, and I said, why don't you show many artists from America? And they said, well, because American artists have tons of opportunities. They don't need opportunities here in Europe. And I'm like, every American artist wants to show in Europe. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, we all
I know.
But they think that we have tons of opportunities in America, but then American artists are sitting there going, there are no opportunities in America, so we look to Europe, and Europe's like, no, we don't want you. It's just like, God, it's a catch-22.
Yeah, the grease, what's it called? The grass is greener or something,
Absolutely.
You always feel that way. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the whole gallery system is very different in different cultures as well. Like, I mean, I didn't realize how different until, like, I lived in the United Arab Emirates recently, and then now I live in Europe. Every part of the arts industry is very different, from writing grants to just like artist statements, even how they're written, how you present work. Like in the United States, to me, it was sort of obligatory. Keep in mind, this is 20 some odd years ago, but it was obligatory to frame your work before you put it into a gallery, because like you wanted to present it that. In Europe, nobody frames anything. No, like at all.
What?
No,
Wow.
it's just bare canvases, and there you go, and that's it. And it's little nuanced things like this that are very interesting to me. Because
that is interesting.
Because one of the big costs of doing an exhibition in America was always like, oh, okay, if I'm going to have this exhibition, I'm going to have to frame everything, and like that's a big cost with no guarantee of sales. So it's like I gotta lay this out, and I don't know if I'm going to get my money back.
That's right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, especially if it's a canvas. A lot of artists just already have their canvas stretch on a stretcher bar. But if it is like a print or a photography, that would require framing. Yeah,
photographer here.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I know. Yes, and galleries usually hesitate to fork out the framing cost because it's expensive.
I've never had a gallery.
If you couldn't sell it,
I've never had a gallery pay for framing ever.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, it's the industry I went into. That was just the cost of doing business.
It depends on the artist sometimes as well, and the arrangement as well. Before you start, you can say, "Oh, you can split the cost of framing first, or something."
I have had people offer that, but they always didn't work out because like I like really nice frames. They're very expensive.
Oh, that bad. See,
Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking like
that's different.
gold gilded, crazy Rococo frames. I mean, but just like nice frames, like So,
Yeah, yeah.
anyways,
Oh,
that's
well,
my
yeah, yeah,
snobbery.
yeah. Okay. You have standards.
Well, it's funny, like in that industry, so like in the printmaking, works on paper, photography part, like we often think of like we're like, okay, I'm gonna buy frames for an exhibition, but I'm gonna buy like a standardized size frame that I potentially can then use again in my next exhibition because chances are most of the work will not sell, so I can reuse this frame with if I just continue to work at the same scale. So like we like to invest in slightly nicer frames because we expect to use them for 3 to 5 exhibitions.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Well, versus painters who like, when they do it generally, they get sold and the frames go with it and then so on and so on. So yeah, it's a very different subset of the arts industry, works on paper.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Painting, there's a hierarchy as well in terms of the medium.
Yes, works on paper are near the bottom. We know. Generally, when it comes to collectors, it works on paper. So photographs / works on paper are introductory level type of things. Like this, what art collectors start with before they then upgrade. Because even some of the most expensive photographs are still cheaper than some of the least expensive paintings because it's reproducible and there are multiples of it, and it makes sense. And it's a great avenue to get collectors buying because not everybody could throw down $30,000 for a painting, but they could throw down $3,000 for a nice photograph or a print.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about your practice is that you can go to NFT very easily.
Please don't start me on NFTs. I'm not a fan at this moment.
You're not?
I want to be a fan, but I'm not.
Okay.
Are
All right.
you?
I am sitting on the fence. I don't know yet. Yeah, I'm watching.
I have a friend who I went to grad school with who's doing very well in the NFT industry, and he has offered to
Wow.
help me and guide me in it, and I'm still trepidatious, let's say.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I love the theory of it. The theory's magnificent.
Right.
Well, because like a lot of us are, we work digitally, graphic designers even, or printmakers or photographers, and we have millions of digital files that I wouldn't put in a gallery as my gallery series, like that I want to make a book out of and like do all these like really pompous sort of traditional things with. But I have lots of like little test ideas and sub works that have no connection to anything else that like would be magnificent as NFTs. I just haven't sort of decided to do
Yeah.
that yet.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe one day.
I know I need to get in touch with him and hear more about it here because my biggest problem is the what they call the gas fees for creating NFTs. So like I, as the person making an NFT, I have to pay a quote unquote gas fee, which can be up to like $75 to just produce an
Wow.
NFT. To become part of the
Really?
blockchain. I mean, don't get me wrong, they vary from like $20 all the way up to like $75. I've got like 10,000 images that I would like to make as NFTs. I mean, that would be $750,000 that I don't have. So I'm just like,
Yeah. Wow, that's a good point. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know yet about NFT. So, and right now I wouldn't be doing it. I have so many artists that I'm working with that are doing traditional mediums. So, yeah.
well, my other problem with NFTs, which is a very personal problem, I'm sure for me, but I'm sure other people can relate to this, is like I feel like a lot of the NFT world is a bit of a cult of personality. I feel like it's high school. I feel like it's Kickstarter. It's basically like if you have lots of online friends, quote unquote friends, but like online followers and whatever on Instagram or whatever, or even a good email newsletter list, then you'll probably do really well with NFTs. But I'm horrible with that whole online sphere of like getting friends and followers, and then to put yourself out there and say, now please support my thing. Like I hate that. I mean,
I see.
it's such a, I feel like I'm the outsider trying to make friends with the jocks and the cheerleaders in high school and the popular kids, and like I didn't like playing those games in high school. I really don't want to play those games in my 40s. Like I don't like it.
Okay, yeah, no. I think you have to do within your comfort zone. Yeah, there's so many ways to make art. NFT should,
If I could hand it all off
don't
to
need to be.
somebody else to do for me, and I knew nothing about what was going on and whether or not I was selling or being popular, I would be happy with that. But it's like, if I have to do it and then I have to ask my friends to support it and post on my social media and do it, fuck that. I'm over it.
Yeah, I know the
Like,
feeling.
I won't even do a
Yeah,
Kickstarter. Like, I mean, I admire all the people that are willing to do Kickstarters, but like, I will not do it. It makes me just anxious even thinking about putting up a Kickstarter, like, because it's so personal in such a way that like putting a piece.
it's like begging as well. Yeah,
Yes, it feels like me basically saying, I have this great idea, but I'm broke. Could you help me
yeah,
out?
right.
Like that, there's nothing that makes me feel positive about that situation.
Yeah. It could be your pride or yeah.
It is pride. It absolutely is pride. It's pride and
Yeah.
also
Also,
not
yeah.
wanting to show weakness. So like to me,
It could be principle, yeah, as well. Your principle, like you don't want to, like ask for handouts. That's also,
I never want to ask for. Don't get me wrong. I'll ask for handouts from like my family, but not from my friends.
yeah, and also total strangers. That would be weird. Yeah, because it is
It
kind of.
is, and yeah, it just yeah. I'm anxious enough about other things. I don't need that in my life. But anyways, back to you.
That's right.
I guess the question is sort of like moving forward with a gallery at this point. So like, what are some of like your potential ideas for what's going to happen, like theoretically post pandemic? Like, so like, is this the kind of thing, like, do you think that the industry model is changing and that you will primarily still put all of your or majority of your effort onto online? Or do you believe that a lot of it's going to go back to like the in real life, like brick and mortar? What's your sort of business plan, business model for the post pandemic gallery world?
Well, I think what I'm doing actually is going to apply in the next 5, 10 years. Online, it's going to be very important. It is important right now. It will be important in the future for me anyway, because foot traffic into galleries has already reduced anyway, even before COVID. People buying online has been a culture that has been rising, with Amazon and Etsy and eBay and all those platforms. It has been rising, and COVID has sort of accelerated it, right? Now, I don't know when COVID is going to go away. It's never going to go away. We keep getting all these variants, right? So, okay, let's imagine the scenario that is COVID, it disappears, right, in the next 2 months. Nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same. We're going to all be buying online. When I really want to put something in front of someone's face, that will be the art fairs. Because I went to 3 art fairs last year: Spring Break, Art on Paper, and I went to Untitled. Only one art fair I broke even, but I made money on the other 2. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's
In fact, I sold out. I
great.
sold out at Untitled. Yeah.
I'm very pleasantly surprised by that. Like, I mean, because I have a very doom and gloom sort of perspective on the arts industry as a whole at the moment. But so it's nice to hear that there are people that are doing well at things like art fairs, which we're hearing nothing but doom and gloom about.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, it's interesting that the industry seems to report sometimes really bad stuff about art fairs, and then sometimes like really positive. But a lot of times you hear negative stuff about art fairs, but it's still around, it's still existing. So collectors must be buying. There is a demand and supply principle there, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. art fairs are one of those really interesting things because like they, to a certain extent, I love them. I've been to many of them, but they more or less are the commodification of the art world. I mean, it's a bit literally like it's just a transactional situation and a networking situation. Like that's all it's there for. Like you're not going to go there and talk art. You're not going to have any great like, oh, why did you make your work and all these great sort of insightful things. It's none of that shit's going to happen. It's just you meet the right people, you make some deals. So like it's connections, networking, and commodification. And in many ways, that's great because it's what makes the art world go round. But in many ways, that's sad for me because like I'd like to think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think you have to be selective with the kind of art fair that you participate in. That so
Because there are so many these days.
there's so many bad ones. Yeah. So yeah, I go to Spring Break because it's a curated exhibition. The whole concept is all curation. You have to submit a big proposal, and you have to write a whole thesis on why you were showing what you're showing, and then Untitled as well. Untitled is actually a curated. They want to pre-approve everything 6 months ahead, and the thesis has to be very strong and cogent. Otherwise, the other small art fairs are really crappy. I don't want to name them, but you don't go to those because those are the art fairs that are meant for decorators, or people who don't know anything about art. So you have to be selective. For me, I might get into art fairs like the Independent, the Armory. Those are, I would say, notable, respectable ones, right?
Expensive.
Yeah, they can be. They're all expensive. Even the bad ones are expensive. So
Oh, I mean, with the one I helped out with back in 2001, she paid like $15,000 for her booth, and then we had to ship all the work.
which art fair?
Toronto Art Fair.
Oh, Toronto, yeah. No, the 15,000 is a standard fee.
Oh, but no, then we still had to ship all the work there, and we took like monumental sculptures and all. I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of money, as far as I'm concerned. But she broke even. She made her money, so like good for her. But fuck that, the fear of like throwing down that much money with the hope of making money back has got to be nerve-wracking for a gallerist.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a good exposure. Even, you have to think about it as a marketing. It's like you put it in your marketing budget, and think that, hey, the list that I can build from being out there, and also the kind of reputation you gain, from participating in art fairs. Like it or not, a lot of artists like it if you go to art fairs. They're more drawn to you if you have a track record in art fairs because a lot of artists want to be participating in art fairs. So if you never go to art fair, they're like, oh, you're just really a small town, little gallery. We don't want to show with you.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, there is that sort of credibility that says like, not only are you a small town art gallery, but that the work that you are, exhibiting has credibility in other markets.
That's right. Exactly.
It's true. All right. So to wrap this up, do you have any sort of advice or any sort of ideas that you want to share with the listeners?
Advice to who, the artists, or to people who want to be in the art business, or who wants to open a gallery?
Whatever you think you have the best advice for.
Well, so I would say, for people who want to get into the gallery business, how about that? Because, that's what I'm in, a gallery is a business. First and foremost, okay? You got to have capital. You need to have a business plan. Okay? Know that you have to pay insurance for all your art. It costs money. You have to pay rent. Okay? You have to pay your staff. So it's not just like, oh, I'm going to just open a little gallery and, let's see what happens. No. Have a business plan. Have some kind of, capital that will sustain you, when you get in and, start that business. It's a business.
Oh, yeah. I've heard stories that you should have a minimum of like 6 months worth of running capital in savings if you want to run a gallery.
That's right.
Minimum 6
That's
months.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That absolutely, and I'm a big supporter of how social media these days is actually really helping the art business, especially Instagram. So yeah, everybody should, embrace it. I'm sorry, Matthew, but yeah,
Yeah, I would love to embrace it, except I just don't even know how to. Like I don't get it. I'm a
it's an important tool.
I think I'm like I'm not sure if like I'm OCD or like I like systems and I feel like Instagram is arbitrary and random. Like I can't figure it out. Like I want to be able to figure it out and there's no figuring it out. And even once you do think you figure it out, they change the algorithm on you.
I know they do that. Yeah, yeah. It's Facebook because they're owned by Facebook. It's Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, social media is a very good way. I think as an artist, for me, the way I find my artists a lot of times are on Instagram. And when I meet an artist, I immediately ask them, do you have an Instagram account? Because that's how I see your portfolio. That's how I see your work. That's the quickest way because I don't have time to like go and, studio visit. Right. If you live far away from me or you're in a different state, like, don't you think it's like so easy?
So the hierarchy. So an Instagram account is more important than a website.
Yeah, yeah, because it's quicker than a website. Also, a lot of websites are crappy.
I totally agree. I teach web design and fuck, there's a lot of ugly websites in the world.
Yeah, as an artist, you should yeah, really clean your website, groom it, and put the latest work first, and all those you have, and then your CV has to be the latest and all that. But a lot of artists don't pay attention to that, so that's why Instagram is a better, platform.
It's great. I mean, it basically like the more people I hear telling me like the Instagram is the best way to go, like I need to listen to this instead of like say no, no, no. I need to go, okay, like
Yeah.
5, 10, 20 people have now said this. Like really, this is something I should be listening to.
Yeah. Yes. Try it.
Oh, I do it. I'm on there. I just yeah. There's a longer issue on that. Is like the one of the things I have a pet peeve about Instagram is that you should be posting on a regular basis. Well, like my work right now takes between 6 to 8 months for me to finish one piece.
Oh,
So that's not really Instagram speed.
that's not gonna, yeah, no.
Yeah.
They want you to post one a day.
Yeah, I'm not making one. I'm making, if I'm lucky, like 3 a year.
Oh, I get it. Oh, well, you do it at your own pace and your own way then,
I know it's really hard, but I mean that's the thing is like to a certain extent, like the Instagram sort of pace is not made for every artist. I mean, what if you're an oil painter or a marble sculptor or these kinds of things like that take months and years to complete a single piece? Like Instagram is not made for those people. So like it has its place. I agree 100%, but like it's not necessarily for every medium.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah.
Well, like I was
Okay.
talking to a glass sculptor, and he was telling me that he would take a piece of glass and he would put it in the kiln, and then has to sit in the kiln for 6 months.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and then
Wow.
at the end of the 6 months, it might have worked. If it didn't work, he has to start another piece for another 6 months.
Oh,
So,
wow.
like,
That's a long,
if he's lucky, he gets 2 good pieces a year. If he's not lucky and they break or crack or whatever, he gets no good pieces a year. So, like, I mean, there's certain mediums and certain processes that lend better to the speed of Instagram than others, for sure.
that is true. That is
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
I
Okay.
know. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to chat.
Thank you.
Before you go, we would like to thank you for listening all the way to the end of the episode. We would also appreciate it if you would share the podcast with your friends, families, co-workers, and studio mates, anyone with an interest in the arts and creative industries. The building and strengthening of the arts and creative community, both today and in the future, is at the core of our mission for this podcast. You can listen, rate, and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are produced by 5014. The audio was edited by CushAudio Services, and the music was created by Pete Bybee. The Wise Fool Art Podcast is supported in part by an EEA grant from Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway in an effort to work together for a green, competitive, and inclusive Europe. We would also like to thank our partners Hunt Kastner in Prague, Czech Republic, and Kunstsentrene i Norge in Norway. Links to EEA grants and our partner organizations are available in the show notes or on our website, wisefoolpod.com.